Hello, hello. This is Rachel. I have hamsters and I'm back in 2025. I'm sorry it's been a bit. It's been so long. I have got a little frog in my throat. Please excuse me. Wow, I haven't spoken in a while. But I'm here now. It's actually funny because I was just listening to that opening for the podcast, which is like nibbling sounds. And then in the background, Lemonade is chewing on this like lollipop chew thing. I think I got it in a raffle, maybe from Happy Horizons Hamster Haven. Anyway, she loves it and it's very loud. She's chewing on it. And it makes me happy that she's enjoying it. So that's great. It's a meta moment here. Hamsters in my ears, hamsters all around me. And I'm here to talk about hamsters. So I'm glad I made it. Yay. So I know it's been a while. And I'm sorry about that. Normally I just kind of talk about hamsters on this podcast, but I will just mention that we had layoffs going on at work, and I was kind of anxious about it, obviously, even though there was a part of me that was like, if I got severance and just had like a few weeks to just like hang out with my hamsters, it wouldn't be the worst. I would be kind of happy about that, but I was also very nervous about it. It's like nobody really wants to get laid off, even though the idea of getting a severance and having a few weeks to yourself would be okay. And, I'm sure I'd be fine, or I could freelance. And yeah, I knew I was going to be fine, but there's still that cloud, hanging over you. And I was like a little nervous about taking a lunch break, which is why I didn't do this podcast, because I usually do it on my lunch break. And so I'm finally using a lunch break to do this podcast, check in with you guys, see how you all are doing, and tell you about what's going on in my life. So I hope your 2025 hamster lives are going well. And so things going on for me. So a really big one is, physically, it's very large. I got the omelet size large playpen and wheel that they sell on their website. They gifted it to me, so I'm giving it a try, and I love it. I know I posted a video on YouTube, and I posted some stuff on Instagram so far. I have some better photos coming, and I did just do a blog post about it. Just like my first blog post, but of course I've only been using it for a few weeks, so I'm sure I'll have more to say as time goes by. But so far it's awesome. It's enormous and really sturdy. The floor is this thick, kind of like waterproof, canvasy feeling floor. The playpens that I used to use were these really kind of cheap nylon playpens that my hamsters in an instant would chew a hole through, which is why I had to line the floors of those playpens with a fleece blanket. And even the fleece blanket, sometimes they would chew holes in. I'm usually really good about watching for that, because you don't want them to ingest fleece. But occasionally, they get up to mischief. So this is really nice. The floor is totally, it can stand up on its own. You don't have to worry about your hamster, or at least I didn't feel I had to worry about my hamsters chewing through it. Maybe a Syrian or really rambunctious dwarf hamster could do it, but mine weren't motivated to. So far that's been awesome. The size is amazing. It is so big. It's like the size of a guinea pig enclosure. It's so large. And actually it did make me think that I could maybe use guinea pig enclosures as a playpen. I think some people do this, and I've never tried it. And maybe that's something that I will try this year, just to I know there's some options online for that. So maybe that's something I'll try as an alternative, depending on where you're located in the world or what your budget is. I do try to give a variety of options and price ranges depending on what your need is. But this is really nice because it does break down pretty small. The walls are a hard plastic that breaks down into a flat thing. And then the floor is obviously a soft fabric, although quite thick. So it doesn't really get that small, but it's fairly small. You could fold it up and kind of put it in a corner. I think the The goal is that if you bought the omelet cage and you had it on the stand with like the little basket underneath, you could put the playpen in there. Although honestly, I recommend if you're going to have a hamster for the most part to just have a playpen always set up. Unless you have that unusual hamster that just like never wants to come out. Most of my hamsters come out, most of them enjoy it. And so I just always have a playpen pretty much ready to go. And in fact, sometimes I have more than one playpen set up. That's usually my process for cleaning is once I want to set up a new playpen, I'll set up the new one, get all the stuff in there, and then I'll break down the old one. And then that way I am never without a place to put a hamster if they come out and they want to play. Because the process of cleaning up a playpen can take me like a little while, and I don't always have like huge amounts of time to do it. So I will do like little bits at a time, like, oh, I'll clean this hide, I'll clean up the sand bath. It's like I'll do one thing a day. So those playpens, it's nice to have multiples. So maybe in the future I'll try having a second guinea pig enclosure to give that a try, or I might try the size small omelet playpen as like my secondary playpen. But yeah, I mean, so far I love it. It's a huge amount of space. I'm like a little bit challenged to come up with the amount of stuff to like put in this playpen to make it feel full and interesting and engaging and also not scary for my hamsters. If you are someone who doesn't use playpens a lot, I think that's a really key thing. Like a wide open space is not an appealing space for a hamster. They are prey animals and they want to be in a space that's like full of hides, tunnels, coverings. So whatever you got, put it in there. Even if it's like interesting cardboard, that can be super great. So like my parents they belong to a wine club. And so I'll save like the cardboard that comes with their wine bottles and use that and sort of prop it on top of other things. So my hamsters can go under there and have a snack, or they'll climb on it. I'll sprinkle seeds on it and they can like find the seeds. There's so much you can do. I have a lot of posts on my website about it, but I'll link to some down below. And if you have any ideas, favorite playpens, favorite ways you use playpens, I'd love to hear them. Leave me a comment below. Always, I love hearing from you guys. The other thing that I also got from Omelette is their wheel. So their wheel, if you buy an omelet cage, it comes with a wheel, which is awesome. I love that they are giving just one option for their customers. And the cage is like 775 square inches, I believe. And then it comes with this like, I think, what did I measure it at? I think it's like 10.5 inches or maybe close to 11 inches. It's a decent size wheel. It looks very large when Dexter, my dwarf hamster, uses it. Very comfortable for him. Super quiet, silent. It can be used on the floor or you can mount it to the wired portion of the cage. So I love that they're giving like a species appropriate wheel. My, one caveat is the wheel could be a little bit small for a very large Syrian. Kind of depends on the Syrian. Syrians probably need more like a 12 to 14 inch wheel, which can be hard to come by. Bukastat and Night Angel now make extra large wheels that are, I believe, about 14 inches. But yeah, it's definitely not easy to find a wheel that size, and they are pricey. They're not cheap. Yeah, but I mean, I think for dwarf hamster, I haven't tried the omelet cage yet, but I'm going to say like this wheel is great. And I'm really excited that the cage comes with a wheel and that it's an appropriate size for, I believe, a dwarf hamster. So I am going to try the cage in the future and I will tell you guys all about it. I just wanted to do like one thing at a time, the playpen, the wheel, and really get to know it, feel it out. I think the one thing that I would say now that I've used it for a few weeks now, quickly there has become a pee corner or a few pee corners in the playpen. And maybe another night this week, I worked on cleaning up that pee corner. And man, can I say, if you let hamster pee dry in a corner and then you have to get it up, it's not easy. I really had to scrub at it and spray at it a lot with this water alcohol solution I had. So after that, I actually let the whole thing dry and then I put my fleece blanket down again. And then that way they can pee on the fleece blanket. I can just wash it. So that's my recommendation if you're going to try this playpen, honestly, or any playpen. I think having a blanket Guinea pig liners work really well. I have these liners from Left Pets that work great. They wash really nicely. They don't get caught on hamster nails. Whatever you want to use, some sort of liner is, I think, really helpful for a playpen situation. So that is that. And then, I think the stuff going on mostly in my life is, I've got 3 sort of getting older dwarf hamsters, and 2 of them really are starting to have some pretty major medical things going on. So Maurice is definitely 2 years old. He's a rescue, but I got him almost exactly 2 years ago from Mel's Neighborhood Rodents. If you don't follow Mel on Instagram or Facebook, she is this amazing woman who picks up rescued, unwanted hamsters and then rehomes them all around the United States. So she has a Facebook group and she posts her where she's going. And if you want to surrender or adopt from her, you just submit a form and then she'll like add you to her route if you're like in the route where it makes sense. So she lives in Florida, so often she does like kind of a loop, like up to Wisconsin or Michigan, like through Missouri or Kentucky or, something like that. And sometimes she'll go over to New York, and sometimes she goes out west. Sometimes she goes to Texas. It's amazing. So that's where I got Maurice. He's been a lovely little guy for me. He's pretty shy, but very handleable, which is nice when he's had health concerns. And for the most part, he's just kind of stopped using his wheel. He mostly just stays in one place in his enclosure. He used to move around more. He's in a medium Night Angel Vista. But yeah, the last like month or 2, he's really just kind of stayed in his multi-chamber hide, and he comes out to eat and drink. And sometimes I would see him like digging in his dig area for seeds or whatever, but he's not really doing that much. And then he started to have dry eyes that turned into an eye infection. So that's what I'm dealing with now. So I now have him on 3 eye drops. I took him to the vet because he started to get these crusty eyes that were like inflamed. I didn't know what was going on. I think it started with them just being dry, and I think had I known to look out for this, maybe I could have been on top of it and just like used a saline drop or like a lubrication drop on his eye. And I think I'll do this in the future if I see this in my hamsters. But I didn't know. I didn't know what was going on with him. So now I give him 3 drops twice a day. One is a saline drop. So I do that one first. It's just sort of open up his eyes a little bit. And then I do an antibiotic drop because he has this infection. And then I do a lubricant drop. The lubricant drop is actually for people. I just got it from CVS. So it's kind of a process. I think the thing that I learned and took away from this is I actually moved him into a small 100-quart bin. And ever since doing that, I feel so much better about it. It's so much easier for me to do his eye drops and stay on top of it. I think initially when he had this infection, it was really hard for me to get the eye drops on him. And even more than that, I feel like what was happening, because he was getting older, he's just sleeping in the same spot and kind of like peeing there. And it was like really gross. And I wasn't as proactive about cleaning it because I usually don't bug my hamsters' nests until they move, like I kind of like wait until they move places and then I'll clean out their old nest. And I realized that I think when my hamsters get older, I need to be a little more on top of that because I don't think they are as proactive about making those moves. I think I made that mistake with Fred, one of my dwarf hamsters I had in the past. I left him in his 200-quart bin, even though he was having some health problems. I wanted him to live like the most normal life as possible. And what ended up happening is right before he died, I realized how like disgusting his nest was. And I was really shocked and I felt horrible because I didn't realize how gross it was. He was also a really, really big dwarf hamster. So I think mess for him just like built up faster because he was like almost the size of a Syrian. Like he looked like a Syrian hamster. It was so strange. Yeah, and so I think my takeaway from that is like I think as hamsters start to have more health problems, I want to be a little more proactive about moving in them into a smaller bin that's like easier for me to keep up with their cleaning and keep up with caring for them. So that's why I moved Maurice, and maybe at some point I'll move Lemonade because she's had some health problems too. But right now, just focusing on Maurice. I think once I get through this eye thing with him, otherwise he's sweet. He doesn't really have any other health concerns, but you can tell he's getting old. He's not. He's sort of doing that thing where he only eats certain foods, like he'll eat baby food, he'll eat some scrambled egg, he'll eat mealworms. I don't know. He's just like so picky every day. It's like, will you eat this? No. Okay. So, I think that's just like elderly hamster care. They just, they come just they need a little more TLC. So that's Maurice. And then Lemonade has this mass on her belly that has grown really fast. So I got Lemonade last October. So I've only had her for, I don't know, maybe I got her in September. I've only had her for like 4 or 5 months at most. And she had to get her eye removed. That was when she was still with the rescue she came from, Happy Horizon Hamster Haven. So she had this eye removed, and she's probably a little bit on the older end, kind of a grumpy hamster, but I figured, I'm happy to take her on. And so I adopted her from Happy Horizon Hamster Haven. And and at first it was really great. I mean, she was like, I would say it still is really great. She's like really enjoying her bin cage. She's constantly out and about, climbing on things, chewing on things. She's really fun. She's a really fun hamster. But unfortunately, like maybe 2 weeks ago, I noticed she had this like darkness in her belly area. And she's very wiggly. She also bites. So I don't always get to like really, really see her. But I had her in a plastic cup because I was taking her out for the playpen. And then I brought her into the vet the following week, and it had gotten a lot bigger. And that was like, yeah, this doesn't look good. There's probably not much we can do. It's like too big for us really to do anything. And then another week goes by, and maybe like yesterday or the day before, I noticed it had gotten even bigger, and I was really afraid that it was going to rupture. Otherwise, she seems fine. Like she's still active, eating, doing all of her usual things. It's just this like mass has gotten so big so fast. So I made this urgent appointment with my vet, and thankfully they were actually able to drain it. So it is still like a cancerous mass, but it also has like maybe some sort of cystic component. So there's a lot of fluid and blood that came out in the draining. So the good news is there was something we could actually do for her to help keep her comfortable. And then the bad news is that, it might refill. Who knows how long this will last. But just trying to keep her comfortable as long as possible. I brought her home. She went right back to eating. So I think she's feeling fine. It seems like the process of draining it did not bother her. If anything, hopefully it made her feel better. So that's what's going on with Lemonade. And and then I've got my other robos who, I kind of don't see them a lot, but they're out and about. And, hopefully I'll get to know them better. So what else is going on? I did a lot of sand cleaning the last couple weeks. That was a whole big adventure. If you haven't watched my videos about how I clean my sand, you don't need to throw away sand. You can just sift it. I do throw away the parts that are like clumped and seeds, but then I just run the sand through water and like a cheesecloth, and then I bake it for a couple hours until it's dry. New sand. But it is kind of an ordeal when you have 7 hamsters. It's a lot of sand to clean. So I've been doing that. And there's Dexter. He wants my attention. Maybe I'll stop this and go say hey. But yeah, that's kind of it, I suppose. The big thing that was on my mind for a little while is there were all those wildfires happening in LA, and I was thinking, it's always a good thing to mention. If you don't have a contingency plan for your hamster, it's a great thing to think about. No matter where you live, there's always, some risk of something, like whether it be it's a bad blizzard and you lose power and suddenly it's cold, or the opposite, it's the middle of very hot summer and you lose power. Hamsters don't do well with extreme weather, really much outside of either 75 degrees Fahrenheit at the top end or 65 degrees Fahrenheit at the bottom end. It's a pretty narrow range of temperature that they need to stay in. So one thing I always have, I've got critter trails in my closet that are stocked with an 8-inch wheel that's like attached to the side. I've got water, food, a cardboard hide, a little bit of bedding. And then that way, if there's like a tornado or something urgent, I can get my hamsters in there and take them somewhere else. I do like the critter trails because they have really good airflow, ventilation. If it's summertime, that's really important because hamsters can get overheated in the back of like the back seat of a car. So particularly if they're in a plastic bin and the sun is going through the bin, that can be kind of a problem. So I do like the critter trails for that reason. But yeah, maybe you have a different way that you prepare for a natural disaster. I would love to hear from you. And, if you were in LA, I'd love to hear about how you dealt with the wildfires. Did you evacuate? How did you deal with your hamsters? Maybe there's some learning that could be shared. Man, what a crazy thing. And it was just like so devastating to watch. So if that was you, I hope you're okay and doing the best that you can be given the situation. So those are all kind of like my major updates. My major topics, so I have like a question of the day. And my question of the day is, do I use lids on my hamster playpens? Somebody commented on a photo on my Instagram, or maybe they sent me a message. I don't remember, asking me if I use lids on my bin cages. So I don't use lids, but I would recommend, like my official recommendation is that you do use a lid on your bin cages. It's a risk. It's a risk that I take, and I take a lot of precautions, and I've done it now for a few years, and I feel pretty knowledgeable about what I'm doing and how to keep my hamsters safe. So number one, I don't have other like predatory animals in the house. No cats, no dogs. If you have cats and dogs, definitely always use a lid. Even I would still also recommend that you keep your hamsters in a closed door room, because it's just not fair to your hamster to let a cat like sit next to the hamster cage and, have that kind of stress for your hamster. So closed door room for your hamster, no dogs or cats are allowed, and also a lid just in case that door is left open. Cats especially are just like, they're very sneaky. They're very quiet. They just slip right in. So if you have a cat, use a lid, definitely. I've read about too many instances with cats and hamsters that, even someone posted today that they had the Bukastat acrylic and metal cage, and that their dog got their hamster through the cage. They did not say if the lid was open or not. I don't fully understand. It seems like it would be hard for a dog to get through that cage. I don't understand. But still, very sad. So please, don't let that be you. Keep that door closed. Also, small children can be pretty risky for hamsters. So, you can have a child. They make these little like child-proof door locks if you want to child-proof the door lock. I have them on my doors to my hamster room just in case I have friends with kids come over. Some kids are great and I'm happy to like do it. But if there's more than one kid, things can get like really escalated and unsafe for the hamsters. And some kids just are like too energetic and they're just like not quite there. I find usually like maybe like 9 years old, 9, 10 is like a good age. Younger than that seems to be a little bit too, I don't know, too much energy. It's like very stressful. I've had some like near misses with kids and hamsters, which has made me like really kind of like be much more protective of making sure that my hamsters are safe. So those things to think about. And then you have to think about your hamsters getting out of their cage. I don't use lids because it allows me to then use platforms in my bins and then put like wheels and hides on top of them. So that way my hamsters can have like the most amount of burrowing space in their bin cages and also still have room for a wheel and a hide and all that stuff. So that's why I don't use a lid, but I'm very careful that the platforms they're not against the wall, and I keep the wheels not against the wall. I make sure that nothing is hanging on the sides of the bin. These are really essential so that your hamster can't climb up anything to get out, that they can't shimmy their way between something and the wall of the bin to get out. I've seen hamsters do this with wheels if the wheel is close to the side of the bin. So keeping everything towards the middle and nothing hanging, and nothing like obviously close to the edge. So there's probably like 7 inches from the platform to the top of the bin. My hamsters can't jump that. They can't reach that. Even if they try, it's like too slippery. So I've never had an issue. But when I get a new hamster, I watch them a lot. I try to make sure like what kind of hamster they are. If you give your hamsters, or at least in my experience, give them a lot of enrichment, give them a home that feels safe and full, they're not going to try to escape because they're going to be happy there. Of course, there are always those hamsters who really want to escape, usually Syrian hamsters. I forgot that caveat. I only have dwarf hamsters. I would use a lid with a Syrian hamster. And if you have a Syrian, I do not recommend bin cages anyway. I think they're too small. I would go with something like a Night Angel Vista size large, or, a DIY cage. And in that case, you would have a lid, or a 75-gallon tank. That's a great Syrian hamster cage. Again, with a lid. But dwarf hamsters, robos, they're terrible climbers. They can't jump. My issue with my hamsters tends to be more accessibility. Like they can't climb up things, than that they're actually going to escape. Whereas with a Syrian hamster, you might have a Syrian who's like a really good climber. So yeah. So in summary, no kids, no predatory animals, closed door room, nothing hanging from the side, platforms in the middle, and dwarf and robo hamsters only. Those are my rules. So I'm curious what you guys do out there. Do you use lids? How do you deal with, maybe you made a DIY domed lid for your bin cage? If I was handy, that's what I would do, but I'm not. So I just make this work, and it's worked for me. Yeah, so that's my question of the day. And then topic is New Year's hamster resolutions. So here's my hamster resolutions this year. I probably will add to them and or change them, but it's always good to, make some goals, think about what I want to achieve this year. I like making goals. I think it's just fun to get excited about the future and what I want to achieve, and thinking about spending more time with my hamsters as always. So my number one goal is to give more money to hamster rescues. I think this is a pretty straightforward goal. I've always felt that I wanted to give more money to rescues, but this comes with a second half of the goal, which is to make more money with my website. And that's how I can give more money to rescues. So if you've gone to my website, I do reviews of products, and then I link to them, and I have affiliate links. So what that means is I get a small commission if somebody clicks on the link and then they purchase, let's say, a Night Angel cage. I'm also affiliate now of Omelette. So I can write my review of Omelette, and if you click on it and you click on the link that I provide and you buy an Omelette playpen, then I get a little commission. And what I use that money for is either medical care for my own hamsters or donating it to hamster rescues around the country. So the last couple years, every month it's a little better than the month before. And the last few months have been better and better. And I just think the more I build on creating content and doing reviews and connecting with the community, the more it seems to bring audience to my website. And I mean, that's awesome too, because at the heart of it, I wanted my website to be a resource for people who are new or old hamster owners, to either connect or find a resource that they've been looking for, whether it be, here's the hamster hideout forum, or I needed some reviews of cages, whatever it is that people need. I'm happy that I've been able to provide that for so many people, and I hope that can continue. So that's my first goal. And then I would also love to go to the hamster fair in 2025. So the California Hamster Association had a fair in December this past year, so a month ago. And if you followed me on Instagram and probably here, I had an artist make some artwork for the fair, and she actually does hamster. This is like a hamster artist. She's really amazing. And I still am selling the some of the products on my website if you want any of them. And so I did this kind of in conjunction with Snow White's Snow White's Rescue Cottage, which is a hamster rescue in Southern California. And Tony from that rescue, she put the artwork on sweatshirts and like sold them at the fair, and it helped contribute to her being able to buy more supplies for her rescue. So that was like a huge success. And I would just like love to be there next year. So, it's always hard having 7 hamsters because they can have medical needs and it can be hard to go away. So I'm hopeful if I like plan for it, I can make it happen. But I was also thinking like maybe I just need to plan something on the East Coast or the Midwest. I don't know. So if you're in the US and you want a hamster get together, let me know. I would totally organize that if I felt like there was enough interest. It would be like super fun to connect with people and and sort of like start that community up around here. Yeah, because that community is so strong in California. And I think there are a lot of us in the Midwest and East Coast. But we just don't really have that like central organizational structure like the California Hamster Association has. So yes, let me know. And then other things I've been thinking about. So I do have these like, Maurice and Lemonade getting older. I don't know how much longer they're going to be around. Of course, I want them to be around as long as possible, but I was kind of thinking like maybe I want to just go down to like 5 hamsters in the future so that I can spend a little more time with the hamsters that I have and have more quality time. It is the debate. I know I've talked about it before. It's hard because it's like I want to take in as many hamsters as possible, help them out, but also it means that I have less time to like get to know them as individuals. And, I think I'm able to pay for their healthcare and give them a good enclosure and stimulation and all that stuff, but I'm not always able to like interact with them in the way that I wish I was. So I've been kind of thinking about that. Like maybe I'd like to spend more time with my robos and get to know them. So I think this is like a tentative goal. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I might play with that idea. And then another thing that I'm sort of halfway in on is maybe getting rid of some hamster stuff that I haven't been using and donating it to a rescue. TBD on that. I started a box of stuff that I'm like, I have a lot of wheels. And the thing is, it's hard to know. Like I have some wheels that I really just don't use right now. But like I have some 12-inch wheels, for example, I don't use right now because I just don't have a hamster that needs a 12-inch wheel. But maybe in the future I will have a hamster who needs a 12-inch wheel. So I don't want to get rid of it. But I could always buy another one if I get to that point. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. I have a lot of wheels. That is the reality. And I love them all. They're all good for different reasons. I think that's why I always say like it's nice to have a kind of a repertoire, even if you just have one hamster, like having a cork-lined wheel, having an acrylic wheel, having a wooden wheel, like having options for your hamster depending on and sizes, depending on their age, their medical needs. Maybe they have more sensitive paws and need cork lining. You never know what your hamster is going to need. So there is something nice about having that extra wheel around when you need it. So those are all my goals for this year. And of course, I think I didn't write this one down, but I would like to be more on top of doing this podcast every other week if I can do it. And hopefully having more guests on. I love when I'm able to connect with people. I think just figuring out a way to like schedule that. And because I'd really love to chat with some breeders this year, some more rescues. What else would I like to do? Yeah, breeders, rescues, artists. If you would like to share your hamster story, I'd love to have you on. Leave me a message or you can send me an email. I'm rachelgothamsters@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you. Yeah, so those are all my goals. Would love to know what all of your goals are. Maybe it will inspire me a little bit. But I'm really looking forward to 2025 and being the best hamster caretaker that I can be, and always trying to learn something new and grow and be a better part of this community. So I think there's always room. There's always room for growth. So I hope you guys are all having a good 2025, and I hope to talk to you, hang out with you guys sometime soon. All right, see you in my next episode. Bye.